Greetings! In this video, we're going to look at an introduction to PowerPoint, that is Microsoft PowerPoint 365, the online version. And we're also going to look at the steps to create a very basic and simple PowerPoint presentation. Let's get started. So here you can see on the screen that I am looking at Microsoft 365, and in particular I am clicked on the PowerPoint section of Microsoft 365. This is where we would get started creating a blank presentation. Before I do that, I'd like to actually use a quick PowerPoint presentation to discuss PowerPoint itself. So let me switch to there. Here you can see that I've got a 4-slide presentation with various styles just to show some styling. But the question to start off with is, what is PowerPoint? PowerPoint is software that we have availability to in the Microsoft Office 365 applications. And we can look here at the various attributes of PowerPoint. It is, in its basic nature, a presentation software, meaning you'll use it to connect with an audience while you're presenting information, sometimes live in front of them, sometimes like we're doing here with a recording. It can also be output to a device for printing, so it could be converted to a printed document. The second bullet point here, or the second information you'll see here, is that it uses styling, layout, shapes, images, and multimedia to engage the viewer. So instead of, say, showing a Word document on the screen while I speak to an audience about the details of that document, it might be more engaging for the audience if I were to put the information into PowerPoint, so I can use some of PowerPoint's style to engage the viewers. The third point here is that the presentation uses slides. This allows for delivering the information as I need to, as I go along. It also allows to kind of break the information into pieces that can have titling and its own styling, so it's easier to understand for the audience. The fourth one here is that there are many, many themes and ways to style a presentation. So depending on what you're talking about or the audience that you're talking to, you can create a style that is appropriate. Word 365 and Excel 365 can also be used as content sources. So you can use PowerPoint to present your final findings of a document that you've created in Word for writing. Also a document that you've created in Excel that has data, spreadsheet type data. And then finally, it can be shared. It uses collaboration features. So online, you can collaborate with people in the creation of PowerPoints. And it can be printed, as I mentioned. Well, who uses PowerPoint? Really anyone who wants to engage their audience. Again, it's presentation software, so PowerPoint could be used by anyone when they are wanting to deliver some information to their audience. And finally, we'll just use the last slide as a way to close up and say thank you. Okay, so there you can see just a very simple PowerPoint presentation. I'll just go through the 4 slides again. They're all different. They all use a little bit of different styling, and that's just to show you some of the initial styling that we can do. Okay, let's switch back to our Microsoft 365 interface here. And to get started in PowerPoint, to make a new PowerPoint presentation, I will choose blank presentation. And this is what you will see when you are first given a PowerPoint presentation. You will see, just like in other Microsoft 365 applications, the ribbon. And we are coming here to the Home tab on the ribbon. We're familiar with that in Word and Excel. You will see on the left a preview area where you can see all of the slides in your presentation and immediately jump to them and cycle through them as needed. So this is a way to navigate to your slides on the left here. The main body here, you will see the slide, the first slide. Now, this is the format right here for what's called a title slide. And that's why it's saying click to add the title and click to add a subtitle. Over here on the right, you'll see the designer pane. I'm going to close that for the moment. So this is your starting point for creating a presentation. If we look in the ribbon, in the Home tab of the ribbon, you'll see the first group is clipboard. We use normally keyboard shortcuts for that, so that's cut, copy, and paste. As we go across, you'll have the slides group. This is where we can add a new slide. We could reuse slides from another presentation that you have in Microsoft 365. You can choose your layout and you can duplicate the slide. We'll look at those as we create this basic presentation. Further on, we've got font and paragraph. We know those from Word and from Excel. Those are when we have text in the document and we want to alter the text. We'll be looking at that. You have the drawing group. This is where you can insert things like shapes and also arrange them together, group items together, or move them to the front or the back. And then we've got some other things here we won't be looking at just yet. So let's stick with the slides group for a second. Over here on the left, I've got a blank slide. As you can see, it's slide 1 of 1. And here's the contents of it in front of us. If I wanted to create a new slide, I could do that here. If you go to the pull down of new slide, you'll see that there are different layouts as presets. Now, once we create a slide, we can move things around any way we want. We can reshape things. We can restyle things. So it's fully customizable. But as you begin to create PowerPoint presentations, you can use PowerPoint's preset formats to get you started. So notice here, the first one is a title slide. That is what I have here in front of me as my first slide. I'm asking PowerPoint to add a new slide, and it's giving me some other options. For instance, title and content. That might be how the next slide looks, or any of these other choices. 2 contents, 2 areas separated, a comparison chart, title only with no content, a blank presentation slide, content with caption, and maybe a picture with caption. So these are just presets that you can use. That ability to choose can also be done here on the layout. Now, it is asking me if I want to change the layout of my current slide, my title slide. And let's just do that quickly. I can switch it to title and content here, and you'll see that the layout changes. I could choose this other layout, which is 2 content, and it'll give me 2 areas where I can add things plus a title. So again, these are just presets that you can use when you're getting started. But as you go in, you can fully customize. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started adding some text. Now, in a PowerPoint presentation, in each slide, you will certainly have text. You will also often have images, you will have shapes, and you may have something called word art, which we'll look at in a future video. These are all elements that are engaging visual elements that your audience will see. The most common content that you'll find inside of slides is text, so that your audience can read along with your presentation as you present it verbally. And there are many different ways to do that, and we'll look at that. But let's go ahead and just add some text. What I'm going to do right now is just go to some text that I have here set aside. I will grab first my title, and I can use copy and paste, of course. And I'm going to paste that in here. A laptop versus desktop computer. I'll go back to my text and I will choose the subtitle, which I have here, and bring that over to my subtitle. A comparison of features. So we have now got our title slide. Once we have this, as I mentioned, you may recognize these containers from Word. They're kind of like text boxes essentially in Word, and they allow you to move things around and do various sizing and styling. We'll look at some text styling in a minute. So there's my title slide. I have 1 slide in this presentation. If I'd like to add a new slide, I can do that here, and I will just stick with the normal presets that PowerPoint gives you in the beginning. I will choose a title and content, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reuse this text. So I can copy here, go back to my slide number 2 and paste that here. When you first are given these preset layout styles, again, this is the layout that is called title and content. The first slide we have is the title slide. When you are given this layout, the normal preset for PowerPoint is to give you what's called a bulleted list. We know that from Word. It is where you have a list of items that are separated with lines, and they have a bullet point in front of each one. The idea behind a bulleted list is that we would want to give the information on, say, the projector screen in a room or a monitor on a computer to your viewer, but not give them the entire paragraph of information. In other words, you don't want them to read an entire paragraph. You just want them to have sort of the bullet points of what you are saying so they can follow along. This gives them the chance to hear you present as well as see the words on the screen. So the default that you're given here in PowerPoint is a bulleted list. Let me switch back over to my text file, and I do have a title for this, so I'm going to grab a title for this slide number 2, and I'm going to paste that in. And then I will come back here to this. I do have 2 paragraphs here. I'm going to copy this first one. I'm going to remove the bulleted list and just use this text box. And by hitting the backspace key, I deleted the first bullet point. And I can now paste in here this text. Now, there may be some cases where a larger amount of text is fine, and you can either separate it as bullet points or not. I'm going to leave this as text for a moment. And so we have now 2 slides. We have the title slide, which is the introduction to the presentation. And we have our first slide, the great debate. We're now getting into the presentation. I want a third slide here where I'm also continuing the discussion of the great debate, but I'm going to have some different text. So an easy way to do that is actually to highlight this slide here. I can see it's bordered in red here. I can come to my slide group here on the ribbon, and you'll see that there's a choice for duplicate slide. So I'm going to click that. And notice now I have 2 slides. Slide number 2 and slide number 3 are identical. And that is handy as I'm wanting to reuse parts of the slide, in particular this great debate title. I won't have to retype this again. I can just duplicate the slide, and I can come into my content area and make a change. Now let me delete this content area on slide 3. I'm going to come back over to my text, and I'm going to highlight this other paragraph and come in and paste that in. So now you can see as I go through the slides, I might discuss the debate between laptops and desktops have been going on since laptops were first created and mass produced. And then as I go on, computer shoppers sometimes have to sort through all this information. So it gives you the ability to have different sets of content while you still have the same title. That was using the duplicate slide. At this point, I know that I want to come and add some more information, more slides. So I'm going to come to the new slide, and I will stick with the same layout that we have so far, which is title and content. Here is a new slide. Now let me come back to my text that I've got here, and I will copy this one and paste this into the title here. Let me come back to my text that I have here. I've got my title. Let me grab these 6 lines that I've created for the desktop, and I will copy them and come back. And I'm going to paste directly into the content area, which is already set up for a bulleted list. It's already preset to be ready for a bulleted list. Although we saw in the last 2 slides, I used more of a paragraph format. So here we've got a bulleted list for the desktop. Let's do the same for the laptop. And to create a new slide, I can just simply come here to the new slide. I can also right-click on the last slide and choose New Slide here. So that gives me a blank slide. It's following the same format as we have prior. So here I will just type the laptop and then come back to my text that I have set aside and grab these 5 lines for the laptop and come here and paste them into the bulleted list that's already ready. So you can see now we have a bulleted list. Next, if you'll notice in my text area, the next section that I have would be the arguments for each type of computer. The argument for a desktop computer, the argument for a laptop. Let's integrate those 2 slides. And so I'm going to come here to my new slide, and instead of choosing the current title and content, which we've been using before, I am going to create a comparison here. So what I will do is put this in, and then if I come back to my text, I can see that I've got a title for each and some bullet points here. So let's fill these in. The argument for a desktop computer, I'm going to copy. I'm going to come here to this text and paste. Go back to my text here, the argument for a laptop. Copy, paste. Now the bullet points. Desktop computer bullet points here, copy. Of course, I could be authoring these directly in PowerPoint. I'm using a separate text file just for speed. Paste those in. Now notice what happens. PowerPoint will resize this text to best fit. We can then make changes afterwards. Let's grab the last section of the laptop's bullet points. I'll copy that, drop that in here. Okay. Lastly, we will just create a title here, and I will just call this comparison of types. Okay. We've got now, instead of having two separate slides for this, we can see the comparison on one slide, and that can be very helpful for your viewers to understand what's going on as well. Finally, we have a slide here that we can go back to our previous format. I've copied the title. I'm going to enter a new slide, and I'll use again the title and content. Paste that in there. Paste this in here. And I'm going to copy this. When I come to my content area, I'm going to take away the bullet here and paste it as if it were a paragraph. But once I get into editing the text, of course, we know I can do all sorts of things. If I come up here to my paragraph formatting, I can choose here the alignment, the indent, and of course I can also choose the type of list. I'm going to choose a bulleted list here. So we've bulleted just those four, but not this little bit of text header. Finally, I will insert a new slide at the end, and I will just have a blank slide. And sometimes at the end of a presentation, you may want to just enter some sort of closing word or your contact information or a wrap-up little bit of information about the whole slideshow. What I've got here is a blank slide. We're going to look at something else here for the first time, which is using the Insert tab. Now, if I come here to the Insert tab, this is where, just like in Word and Excel, we can see various things that I can insert. Of course, I can insert a new slide or reuse slides from another presentation. A table, pictures, shapes, stock images from the web. We've seen that before. Icons, smart art. What I want to insert here is a text box. Now, those text boxes on the other slide layouts were included when I chose that layout. On a blank slide, you have nothing. So what you can do here is just enter a text box, and that can come in the middle. And I'm just going to type here, thank you, as if I'm happy that my audience, if I spell this properly, happy that my audience came. And so I get a default font size. When I highlight this, of course, you get your quick pop-up submenu. I'm going to run this up to, say, 80. So it's large, and I'll hit italicize. So I've put that in a text box. Now, something else to know about PowerPoint. The slide, the area of the slide that I can work in, there is nothing locked anywhere. So in Word, we saw that when we have things that we insert like images or a table, those have to work in conjunction with text that's already in the document. In this case, in PowerPoint, if I drop in a text box, I can move things around anywhere I want on the screen. I can resize text boxes to fit the text in different ways. But just know that in PowerPoint, your styling and your layout, it's a lot freer, so you can do things without locking into any specific set positions. Okay, I'm going to choose this as a thank you. And if you notice, when I hover on a slide, I will sometimes get these red lines depending on where I place things. They will show me the center point. So in this case, the text thank you is now in the center of the document from top to bottom. So I can just place that. Okay, I have got these 8 slides. It'll show you a count of the slides as well. If I come down through, when I'm presenting, let me close this designer pane here. When I'm presenting in PowerPoint, normally I would have this go full screen. Now, the way I'm recording this presentation, I'm only capturing a part of my screen, so it will make things a little strange if I were to change my computer to full screen. You would be losing parts of the slides. But the way that you would normally navigate a PowerPoint would be with the arrow keys, or if we're in presentation mode, by clicking. So there's two ways. If you're sitting at your computer while you're presenting this, you could use your arrow keys to go up or down in the slideshow, or you could click and go forward or backwards. I'm just going to use my arrow keys right now. And notice that if I just arrow down, we can see that I'm set up. I see a typo here. Sometimes need to, let's see if grammar in Microsoft 365 prefers that. It does. You can see that I can just come down through here now and be able to have this information ready for the audience to follow along with what I'm saying. And then a wrap up. So I've now created an 8-slide presentation that's got a title. It's got content slides with this type of layout. It's got bulleted with the same layout for the content. Here I have a comparison type of layout. And we are able to use different layouts depending on what we want to do.